Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and today we are doing our December watercolor calendar painting. I'm going to be doing something similar to this, which you might have seen from me before. This was in my journal last year. I think we did a short on it, and I just think to me, this painting or idea is such a good symbolic painting of December. I feel like there's something really magical about winter nights, specifically December. And so I want to do a night winter snow scene. Okay.
Let's do it.
We have all of our supplies listed in the description, but just as a friendly reminder, use what you have. Okay. That's the most important thing, is putting paint to paper. Supplies is literally so far down on the list of what really matters. Okay.
All right.
We're going to be doing this project in 3 steps. I didn't step it out, so we're going to see if that's true. Step 1, we'll do our sky.
Okay.
Step 2, we'll do our trees.
Okay.
And step 3, we'll do snow.
All right. Love it.
Did it.
Let's just do it in one step. Let's paint it.
Paint it.
There we go.
One step only. We'll paint the whole thing.
Perfect.
If you are interested, we have these watercolor calendars on our website. And I know that some of you have been asking, are you going to keep doing this next year? And the answer is yes. Yes, I will.
It's official.
It's official. The other thing I want to acknowledge is I know that sometimes you guys like to know exactly when the calendar tutorials are going to come out. And my team has tried really, really hard to get me to commit to which Watercolor Wednesday is the calendar tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And we've made plans and I've agreed to them, and then I just don't stick to them. And we have learned that when it comes to these watercolor calendar and YouTube tutorials, I cannot be tamed. Okay. I don't know. They come out during the month on a Wednesday. That's all I can commit to you.
Sarah's just a wild horse.
I'm just too wild. Okay. Yeah. I can't do it. I can't just commit to a specific Wednesday, but it will be within the month.
A Wednesday
within the month. You know, it will be there. Okay. I promise that. That I can do. All right. Let's do our oath and then we're just going to get into it. Okay.
Sounds good.
So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I got weirdly emotional during that. Honey, we've
been
doing this for almost 8 years.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So magical that this is where we're at and that we're still going and that, I don't know.
That we're still trying to get you to commit to which Wednesday tutorial comes out on.
Can't do it, won't do it. Okay, so for our background, what I want to do here is basically I want to do a really dark blue. So I'm going to do Indigo and Phthalo, and when I add my paint, I want the majority of the value to be along the edges, almost like a vignette. And so I'm going to take a Quill, but you can use any large brush that you have. I'm going to mix together Indigo and Phthalo here. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think this is Indigo that's right here. This was dried on my palette. It's either Indigo or Soda Light Genuine, which is a very similar pigment color. However, one is granulating and one is not. So we're going to find out real quick which one that is.
It's Indigo, I could tell. I'm just making that up. I can tell.
I'm like, wow, good job, honey. Okay, so I'm just adding water here and I'm being very loose. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the beautiful thing about a night scene is it can be, it doesn't have to be a perfectly smooth wash. Okay, so the paper's all wet now. I'm going to grab more of that dark blue and I'm going to put it in on the top. And for those who, for your calendar painting, you always want to make sure that the hole is at the top of your painting. If it's at the bottom, your calendar is upside down.
On today's episode of Mistakes Sarah Has Made, painting upside down on your calendar.
It happens, okay? And then the other thing, I like to use gravity to kind of help my washes. So I'm going to kind of move my paper back and forth, and you'll see that those strokes tend to even out if you're able to kind of move your paper back and forth. And I'm going to do one more layer up here because I know that watercolor likes to lighten in value as it dries. I truly can't tell if, I'm pretty sure this is indigo. I don't see that. Granulation doesn't happen immediately. It becomes more apparent as it dries. And so I'm like, are you separating?
I feel like the easy tell, that blue tube right above your palette, is that indigo?
Yeah, but I didn't put it on my palette.
How long has that blue been on the palette?
Truly,
Oh.
truly probably a year.
Okay, so it is a real mystery.
It's a real
I was
mystery.
trying to use some clues.
I appreciate that.
While Sarah's doing this, the other day, our daughter Luna, who's 10, there's a huge mess of glitter in the kitchen, and Luna had glitter all in her hair and all over her body. And I was like, Luna, did you do this? And she went, wasn't me.
It's everywhere.
We used some detective clues to determine that I do think it was Luna. Nope. I'm like, Luna, there's glitter in your hair. She's like, I don't think so.
She's like, there's no glitter in my hair. I'm like, I literally see it.
It's all
And then
over.
she like cartwheels away and then just glitter follows her everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. And then whenever you'll see that you get like this pooling right here, you just are going to take paper towel, let it pool in a corner, and then you're going to touch your paper towel to that little liquid and soak up that excess paint.
I'm on Team Indigo. I'm making the call.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think at this point I would have been able to see some granulation.
I feel like Sodalite Genuine gets like kind of purpley when it granulates. You know what I mean? Like you
No,
see
you're
like
thinking of Tundra Violet.
Oh, yeah, I am. But I do love Tundra Violet.
It's a good color. Okay, that's it for our sky. And I'm immediately going to, while it's wet, I'm going to put in my first layer of trees. So I'm going to take my foliage brush, pick up that same color blue, and I'm going to start putting in, ooh, my tape came undone. We might not have a clean edge.
It's all right.
That's all right. And I'm going to just start putting in trees. Now, these are our kind of like background trees, so they don't need to be perfect. What I'm going for when I do these trees is just a triangle shape. And it's okay that they're going to fuzz out. Remember, these are the trees that are like, we're kind of seeing them far away. And they can be a little bit taller too. Like some can be tall, some can be short. Switch it up. And a foliage brush is a brush that I made. I have a video about it on YouTube. I know that some of you struggle with it. So some paintbrush companies do make foliage brushes or deerfoot brushes. So you can buy them if you really struggle.
But listen, the fun is being able to cut up a paintbrush. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I truly find probably like, I don't know why I find so much joy cutting up a paintbrush, but it really is fun. Okay, and you're going to see they're just going to diffuse out. That's what we want. This is good. We like the diffusion. And then at this point, I'm like, all right, I got to start working quicker because my painting is drying pretty fast. And the other thing that you're going to want to do is like purposely mess up the spacing of them. And then another thing that I like to do to kind of help with some textures is I like to take a liner brush and I'm just going to like you can put in some trunks if you want. Now remember, they are going to diffuse out and that's okay. You can also put in like branches, but because everything is wet, it's not quite staying. That's okay. It's basically just adding to the textures and the lines. Because we want it to feel like, what's happening over there? I can't quite make it out. That's the stage we're at in our painting right now. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick some snow. So clear off any expensive things. I'm going to take a round 6. I'm going to grab some bleed proof white. I'm going to do a test flick on my palette because then it shows you how big the dots are going to be. That's good. And the reason why I'm doing this now is because if I'm doing stars or if I'm doing snow, I like to do it when the paper is kind of damp and then when it's totally dry. And what that does is when you do snow or stars, when the paper is damp, they fuzz out and they soften in value because it's like the wet on wet technique, right? And so that almost makes it look like far away snow or far away stars. And then when you do snow again at the very last step, when everything is dry, that stays sharp, that stays bright white. And so it looks like more foreground snow or foreground stars. So it gives you depth within that layer just by doing it at 2 different times in your painting. Okay?
All right.
And sometimes you might get like, here, I got a little water drop. I'm not mad about it. Don't care. Don't need to fix it. Don't need to touch it. Okay? I'm going to do a couple more background trees while everything is still kind of damp, and then I'm going to dry and do my foreground trees. But I really like how I like all the different values that are happening here. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually not going to cover that up. I like it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to work around it a little bit. But I think that's really cool. So, and that was a complete accident. And you'll find that as you paint, there's going to be these moments with watercolor where it just does something you weren't anticipating. You didn't plan for. And instead of being like, oh, shoot, now I have to smooth it out or I have to make it even, look at it as an opportunity to see something and be like, actually, that's pretty cool.
You have huge life-changing news that's happened since the last tutorial you released. You saw the Northern Lights.
Oh my God. Yes.
You're like, what is it?
I'm like, what life-changing news happened to me? Yeah.
So I saw the Northern Lights for the first time.
I saw the Northern Lights for the first time and it was insane.
It was magical.
It was so magical. The colors we saw, I mean, one part like along the horizon was like bright neon green and then it turned to red. And then if you turned, it was like purple pink. It was insane.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, the other thing that I want to give you permission to do is I'm doing the tops of trees as well. Don't feel like you have to finish them all the way down. Maybe there's mist. Maybe there's, you know what I mean? Like there can be this kind of like unknown part to these elements. So I sometimes like to help that by just doing like, oh, we're just going to do the tips of trees over here. Or maybe just some branches are peeking through, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
And I know Game of Thrones hasn't been on the air for a long time, but this reminds me of North of the Wall.
Oh, yeah. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, I love that. All right, let's let this dry, and then I'm going to start putting in my foreground trees. This is dry. Now, I want to say that for the first step, when I did the sky, I probably did the gravity thing a little bit too much because you see how even that background value is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. I just want to say that if yours is not this smooth and even, like you're not doing it wrong. And I wish mine was more like that.
Gotcha.
But it's one of those things where like, as you paint, as you do things, sometimes you're going to try something. It doesn't do exactly what you do. And instead of saying, oh, forget it, just keep going and see what you can find. And also the opportunity is like, you can always paint this again. I mean, maybe not in this calendar, but you can paint it in a different calendar.
You paint it in gouache in this calendar. Just
Yeah.
paint it right over.
Yeah, you totally can. That you can do. All right. Now what I'm going to do is basically take that same really dark blue and I'm going to do foreground trees. Now these ones I'm going to be a bit more intentional about where they are. So I am going to use my liner brush to kind of create some, like, so I know where they're going. So I'm going to put one here. And let's put one, I kind of like that. I kind of really like this. Maybe we'll do like a shorter one right here. And maybe we'll do another one right here. And we're just going to see. After I place them, I always give myself permission to adjust. Like do more. Can't really do less, but you know, make adjustments if I need to. And then when I get to the very top of the tree, sometimes the foliage brush is hard to get like these really tiny marks. So I'll either turn it on its side or just switch to like a liner or like a round 2 just to get that very tip.
Sharp point.
Yeah. You can also mix a little bit of lamp black into this mixture if you're having a hard time getting a really dark value, because what we want with these foreground trees is for them to be a darker value than everything else that we have on our painting to show that they're in front. The hardest thing though about using a liner with trees is just like trying to get your trunk straight.
Hmm.
So just do the best that you can. Okay. One down here. I'm going to do another one kind of in between these two. And even though I like this, I'm wondering if leaving it bare like this is actually going to create more of a distraction or not. I haven't quite decided, but that's the feeling I'm getting right now. So let me do this tree and we'll take a look at it. What do you think?
I actually kind of really like that
You
spot,
like it?
but
Yeah.
I'm someone who usually encourages you to just like go crazy on these. So go crazy.
I wonder if maybe I just do some like skinnier branches kind of coming right here.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't cover the different values, but it activates the space with that darker value a little bit. Let's try that. The worst that can happen is we have to cover it up with a tree. So let's do, and you want it to be like really thin lines. How does that feel? Meh. Bless you.
Sorry. Yeah, I like that a lot. I feel like that kind of achieves what you're going for without making it heavy.
Yes.
Listen, and I think because the sky, like you said, kind of evened out, it's nice to have a lot of texture on the bottom, you know?
Yes, yes. Okay, you're right. I do like that. I like what that did there. And I'm not too worried. You might be like, there's a floating tree back there. Don't worry about things like that because sometimes we can let things be elusive and just be like, yeah, I don't know. It's fine.
It's missed. Figure it
It's
out.
missed. Figure it out. Don't bother me with your questions. And then I really liked that branch thing. I'm going to do a few more over here where the same thing. I want to kind of maintain the different values, but I need something happening kind of in the foreground. We can even have some coming up over here. Oh, yeah. That's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're going to do our snow. Now, this is where you get to decide how snowy you want your scene to be. At the beginning of a snowfall, the snow is not gathering on the foliage. At the end of a heavy snowfall or the middle of a snowfall, you have snow gathered on your trees and stuff like that. So I'm going to do some snow. I always like to test the flick on my palette first to see the size, because sometimes if it's too big, like if your brush is too wet or if you have too much bleed proof white, you'll get this like huge plop of bleed proof white that you're like, that can't be snow. So I like to test it first. Yeah. And I think I might, what do you think? Should I put a little bit of snow?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been snowing for a while.
So then I'm just going to go across my trees. I'm going to think about the sections of branches like the little chunks, and envision the snow getting caught on those.
Like shelves. They're like tree
Yes.
shelves.
Now, this is a little trick I want to teach you guys, which is for the foreground trees, that's where the white is going to be the brightest. And then for the snow on the background trees, there will still be snow, but it should not be as bright of a white as your foreground trees, because the atmospheric perspective and things that values tend to get more even as they go away from you, that's true for highlights as well. So our strongest highlights and our darkest darks should always be in the foreground to communicate that space. And then when I do my snow in the background, basically I'm just going to water down my bleed proof white. And that's how I can get a softer white. So let's see if I did it enough. So see how it's white, but it's not as bright of a white?
Yeah.
And if you put it down and you're not sure, you just touch it with a paper towel. There we go. That's what we're going for.
Cool.
So I'm going to do some. And it should not be fighting with how bright this is. If it is, just take your paper towel and lift. And this is also, you can use snow to kind of shape some of your trees a little bit if they've gotten a little like, where are they? What happened to them?
Diffuse.
Yeah. You can even, if you're feeling it, because let's just see, sometimes I like to just try things. Take your liner and your white, and maybe on some of these foreground branches, they would have some snow on them. You see that? Oh, yeah. And that is our December winter scene.
I love it.
Now, if you want to add a crescent moon or a full moon, you can. If you celebrate Christmas, doing a little Santa sleigh silhouette would be like so cute right there. There's a lot of things that you can add to this. Also, if you have like gold metallic paint, you can add little gold details on some of these trees. You know, if you have a silver pen, that would actually be really cool too. So don't be afraid to kind of take this idea and adjust it and make it your own. And the worst thing that can happen is it's a piece of paper, you know? And even if you're making this for a gift, and let's say you do something that you're like, God, I can't believe I did that. Is that ruined? No, it's not ruined. And as someone who has gifted these and received these or close to these, it's not about getting the perfect painting scene. It's just the fact that it's handmade for you. That's all that matters. And so anything that adds to that handmade element, even if it is a mistake, even if it's a smear, that doesn't make it less valuable. That makes it more valuable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's why I'm so valuable.
That's right.
All right. I got my words prepared for the flip through.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to slowly and carefully do. This is where I think I got a little bit of bleeding. But let's see. Yeah, right there. Okay, but I do want to show you guys something really quick. Whenever I get bleeding like that, this is what I do to it. But let me finish. Okay. So let's say that it bled a little bit. They don't call bleed-proof white for nothing. You're going to take your bleed-proof white and you want to get a good thick amount on some clean. Yours probably doesn't look like this. I know, I'm a monster. Okay. You're going to take your bleed-proof white and just paint over the bleed.
Boom.
And you can do that wherever you do have bleeding. Okay.
There's one more above the circle. Yeah.
Right here.
Yep.
Now you might have to go back and do a second layer because sometimes after it dries, you can see things a little bit like the opaque. You'll be able to see how opaque or transparent it was. But I use bleed proof white to clean up edges if they bleed through. It's not a big deal. Just want to make sure it's dry before you try and flip it.
You know what I was thinking would be cute and fun on these calendars if you were like really into painting?
What?
Is on the actual little square calendar portions on holidays, paint teeny tiny little scenes.
Yeah, some people do that.
That's really cute.
Okay, so to show what we're talking about here, you can see here, this is also made out of watercolor paper. So if you wanted to like number it or, put like December 25th, paint a Christmas tree, you can paint on these individual little squares.
Some like really beautiful hand lettering for the numbers, and then like holidays get little paintings. That'd be so cute.
Yeah, or even like number stickers.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Because like I feel really uncomfortable with my handwriting, and especially like numbers. I'll be like, I ruined it. Get some stickers. Get some cute little stickers. Who cares?
All right. Oh shoot, I got to pull my list back up.
What?
I got to pull my list back up. I'm ready for the flip through. I didn't want to be unprepared.
Okay, I think that's dry. So there is our December, and we can do the flip through of all of the projects.
Man, what a year.
What a year. Okay, are you guys ready?
Yes.
We have January.
Outstanding.
February.
Exceptional.
March.
Superb. I love March, by the way.
April.
Stellar.
May.
Impressive.
June.
First rate.
July.
Top tier.
August.
Remarkable.
September.
Flawless.
October.
Elite.
Elite. November.
Prime.
And December.
Unbeatable. We did it.
You guys, we did the 12 months in our calendar. Thank you so much for painting this with me. It was fun. It's been fun to see you guys paint them and share them in the group. We will be continuing on and continuing to do this in 2026. Again, these calendars are dateless. So if you didn't complete yours, that's fine. Just continue painting with us in the next one. If you did, we have more of those calendars on our website. You can order those and be ready for the new year. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.